Okay, so today we're learning surface area of cylinders. The formulas are found on your star chart. Surface area of a cylinder, there's two formulas, lateral and total. Lateral is the sides, where total is the whole thing. So right now we're going to write these formulas down. So you should have gone to lateral and written 2 pi RH. And for total, I want you to write the total surface area formula. So 2 pi RH plus 2 pi r squared. This right here is the formula we're going to use today. We're not going to do lateral. We're going to do total today. So we're going to use this long formula. But what are the only two pieces that you need? An R and an H. Okay, let's talk about what R and H represent. R means, let's go up here, R means radius. And radius is halfway through a circle. Radius is halfway through a circle. If they give you the diameter, you can't use it. What do you have to do? You've got to divide it by 2. You can't use diameter. And the height, the H is height, and it's basically the other number. It's how tall the cylinder is. Now, before we move on, I want to use my little cylinder as an example. So I have this Lysol can. Okay, if I stand it up like this is how tall it is, yes? The height's right here. If I lay it down, this is still the height. It's just now laying down. Does that make sense? Where does the radius have to come from? The circle. No matter where the circle is, the radius has to come from the circle. All right, let's look at the first example. Take your highlighter or pencil and shade in the base. What has to be the base? The circle. That is where your R will come from. So we need an R and an H to be able to use this formula. Okay, what is the R? Where does it come from? The circle. So did they give you a radius? Yes. Radius means halfway through. Since this line isn't going all the way through, our radius is 5. The height is the other number. How tall is the cylinder standing? 10 centimeters. Now, all you're going to do, and yes, I expect you to write it down, because if you don't, you will mess up. You are going to fill in your recipe and replace R with 5 and replace H with 10, and that's it. So here we go. 2 times pi times R times H. So 2 times pi times, instead of R, I'm going to write 5 times H, which is 10. Now, am I done with my recipe? No. Now I have to do this piece. What goes right here? Plus 2 times pi times radius. So what am I going to write? 5. And I have to put a little 2 at the top to the second power. Then I'm just going to type it in my calculator. Now here's the deal. If you are good at rounding, then you don't have to do this. But if you're not good at rounding, change your calculator to float 2. It will round all your answers for you. Y'all remember how to do float 2? Go to mode. I'm not going to do it. Go to mode, float 2, hit enter, and it's going to round all your answers to the hundredths place. All right, here we go. 2 times pi times 5 times 10. Everybody should be typing it in. Plus 2 times pi times 5 squared. Do y'all all remember where the squared button is right here? Okay. Hit enter. Now, if you're in mode float 2, it already rounded your answer. I am not in mode float 2. Okay, so if I'm not in mode float 2, I'm going to round to the hundredths place, which is this 3, and I have to decide if I'm going to write 3 or 4. Since the number to the right is 5 or more, I raise the... Now, if you're in float 2, it already told you that it should be a 0.24. Yes? All right, so my answer is 471.24 centimeters squared. Did y'all get the same thing? Did you put it in wrong? Okay. But you know where you messed up, right? Okay. Any questions? How easy is this? It's just a lot to write down, that's all. But it's super easy. All right, let's do the next one. Where does the radius have to come from? Did they give you radius halfway through? They gave you diameter. So I still need an R and an H, but they did not give me R. So what do I have to do to this number? Divide by 2. 6.2 divided by 2 is 3.1. Now, if you're in mode float 2, it told you 3.10. It's the same number. Okay, what is the height? 12.2. And now we're going to just put it into our recipe, our formula, this long thing right here. So 2 times pi times r times h. 2 times pi times r, which is 3.1, times h, which is 12.2. Now, if your handwriting's bad, this gets hard because you can't tell what you wrote, so be careful. Plus, now I'm doing this piece. 2 times pi times r squared. Check your answer with mine. Are we okay? Does anybody have questions? Okay. I'm awake because I still see some people typing. Now, this last picture is what is called a net of a cylinder. Remember how we talked about rectangular prisms and they don't fit in the trash can if you have a big box, so you break it down? You can break down a cylinder. So I have this Lysol can of wipes. If I pop the circles out, looks like that, yes? And then if I took a pair of scissors and cut it down and unrolled it, you can see, see that's where the base is. And then this would roll out to a rectangle, and then I would pop this other base out, and that would be it. Does that make sense? So this is just a broken apart cylinder laying flat. Where does the radius have to come from? So this is the base. So I need an R. What else do I need? An H. So let's talk about it. Did they give you a radius halfway through the circle? No. What did they give you? So I have to take this number and divide by 2. So 7.5 divided by 2 is 3.75. The height is the other number that doesn't come from the circle. So where's the height? 6.5. Okay, I want you guys to go set this up on your own while I pass out the assignment, and I want you to set it up and solve it, and then we're going to check your answer. Too big because you won't run out of room. Okay, you should have written 2 times pi times r times h. That's the first part. That's the lateral, yes? But we're doing total, so we're going to do plus this piece. 2 times pi times r squared. 2 times pi times r squared. Again, if you write too big, it's going to get kind of crazy and you're not going to be able to read it, so be careful. Let's go type it in unless you already have. And there's my answer. 241.50 or 51? 51 centimeters squared. Okay, get the assignment that I just passed you. And this is going to be the front right here. So I want you all to start on this side. Now, at the top, it says use 3.14 for pi. We're going to use our pi button. On the STAR test, I need y'all to listen. This is very important. On the STAR test, if it says use 3.14 for pi, then you don't use your pi button. You use 3.14. But for today, we're all going to use our pi button. Yes? The pi button is more accurate. It gives you more, like, so if I hit pi enter, it's 3.141592654, where this is rounded. So they just rounded it, okay? It's the same number, but the pi button's more accurate. All right, I want you to write the formula at the top of the page so that you can refer to it. Write it nice and neat. 2 pi RH plus 2 pi r squared. That is the formula you're going to follow on every question today. We're going to do total surface area. Now, what am I going to expect you to show? Number one, I want to see R equals H equals. And I want you to fill it in. Okay, so for number one, you would fill in what is the radius? 2. What is the height?
7.
Then I want to see what you're typing in your calculator. I want you to write it right below where you're going to put the answer. Okay, so I would write 2 times pi times r, which is 7, times h, which, 2 times pi times r, which is 2, times 7, which is the height, plus 2 times pi times r squared. I want to see this underneath. That way, if you're messing up, I can see where you're messing up. And then you're going to put your final answer right here. Yes? Now, look at number 4 before you get started. What is the difference between this cylinder and this cylinder? One's laying down. Does the radius change? Does it still come from the circle? So this still has to be the radius. So where's the height? What number is the height? 11. So the R is 9. The H is 11. It's just laying down. Now, here's what I want you to do. You're going to do the front side. You're going to come get it checked with me. Then you'll go fix it. And then you'll go on to the back. Everybody understand? All right. Get busy.